Hello, everyone. Welcome to SAP CX Unplugged, our special holiday e-commerce edition. I am your host, Lisa James, and I'm really excited to have with me today a special guest. Ray, I know you told me not to give you the bells and whistles. I still am going to do it. Founder, chairman, principal analyst at Constellation Research, Ray Wang. Welcome.
Ho, ho, ho. Happy holidays. We're in the mood. So
we definitely are in the mood. Unfortunately, I don't have anything in the stockings yet, but it's still early. I'm excited to talk about holiday trends with you.
Yeah, we definitely are. I mean, look at that. You're all set to go.
So I will say that we are in the time that's considered the golden quarter for retailers, where we see a lot of companies make up to 50 to 60% of their annual revenue in these last 3 months of the year. So what I did over the weekend is I shot a little survey out to my social media community on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram, and I wanted to pull up those results. I just brought up the simple question, have you started your holiday shopping? And I wanted to just say that the survey was done the weekend of Halloween, so the last weekend of October. And what we saw is that 66% of respondents said no. And we have 34% that said yes. And this is actually really consistent with national averages, which said that 1/3 of shoppers started their holiday shopping in October. And we're trending to see by Thanksgiving, half of shoppers will have their shopping completed. So I wanted to ask you, Ray, what do you think of this? Is Black Friday losing its relevance if 1/3 of shoppers are already starting in October and it's predicted that half will be done by Thanksgiving?
It's a great point, right? I think people are starting earlier, mostly because it's the pandemic. There's supply chain woes. People are worried about that, right? They're starting, right? But they're not necessarily finding what they want because of where we are on the supply chain. But I don't think it loses relevance. But I'm more interested in Cyber Monday, where we're actually seeing Cyber Monday bigger than Black Friday, where we're estimating at Constellation about 12.1 billion in Cyber Monday, up from about 10.5, almost 11 billion in 2020. But here's the thing. Everybody's out looking a little bit earlier. They're worried about what's going to happen with shipping. And more importantly, we are all procrastinators at heart. So I think consumers are still waiting. And of course, it's always about finding the right deal, because it's one thing to shop early and have no deals. And the brands at least are holding on to maybe they'll be a day earlier, right? But I don't think they're going 3 weeks earlier.
I will say, Ray, I mentioned this in a past LinkedIn Live. I am that crazy person that always started in October and finished by Thanksgiving.
Secret Santa?
Exactly. Something else that I'm also seeing is that sometimes with some companies, they might find it difficult to cut prices or to compete against those big Black Friday sales, especially if their margins are already small. So I've been seeing that a lot of companies we're seeing try to compete in other areas, right? We have seen that a lot of people might not be trying to compete for the best price, but they are promoting that their goods or services are locally sourced or locally made, or they're offering more flexible payment options, or just something that might lure people in if they can't compete in that area of price. But you had started to already talk about some of the challenges that we're seeing for e-commerce brands. So I kind of wanted to pick up on that. What do we think are going to be the main challenges that brands are facing this holiday season?
Yeah, there are a couple that are going to stand out. It's really the question of, can you deliver a good on time, right? So it's one thing to get free shipping, but it's going to be another thing to be able to get fast delivery, especially the last minute delivery. And so everybody's watching their supply chains. I saw a stat, I think the other day, where it used to be about $750,000 ran out a 747 freighter jet. Now it's like $2 million. People are moving stuff in the air to avoid the shipping containers right now. And there's also, that's the main thing, right? Do you have availability? So supply chains are key. The second one is a little bit interesting. It's people are trading loyalty for convenience, mission, purpose, value, and availability. And that's also changing the way people buy. So during the pandemic, if your brand wasn't available, substitution was at its highest level. We've never seen anything like this where people are willing to substitute brands and forego, traditional loyalty in order to actually have something. And so making sure inventory is out there is also going to be very interesting to be able to service what customers are looking for. And then the third thing that keeps popping up for us is really, the challenge really with minimizing returns. Returns are so expensive, and brands and consumers are really trying to make sure you get the product right the first time. So there's a lot of investment and CPQ, making sure visualizations there, making sure you see all the details you need before you buy, but making sure you buy fast too, which is the other piece that's around it.
I think what's really interesting too, right, is that what brands need to be doing is also setting the right expectations. Because if I think of myself also as a consumer, I don't care if brands are going through supply chain issues or if they're having shipping issues, right? Yep. Or if they're just, not able to stock the shelves the way that they used to. As a consumer, we don't care about those things. We care whether we're going to get the gifts that we want at the right time. So I think that it's really important also for companies to be investing and focusing on that customer service piece so that they're able to set appropriate and realistic expectations for their customers. We're also in the second, I guess I can call it the second holiday season into the pandemic. So nobody wants to hear that about because of COVID, they're not going to be getting their, getting the gifts they bought. They're already expecting for brands to have prepared for that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, Lisa, you're absolutely right. I mean, setting expectations is important. Delivering that customer experience to a very self-interested crowd of consumers, right? That's not their problem. They don't care what department you're in. They don't care that you can't deliver on a supply chain. I mean, at the end of the day, you have to deliver the goods, and that's what people are worried about. But we are seeing definitely some trends that are popping up, right? There are more early deals that you're going to see pop up, just as what you were saying. And those deals aren't necessarily financial, right? There was additional services or capabilities, or you said payment terms. I think we're definitely seeing that. The other thing that we're seeing is a lot more in-store and curbside pickup, right? People want to make sure they grab their goods. They're not counting on the fact that it's going to be delivered to them. And then we also see a lot of BOGO. So everyone's doing buy one, get one, or some similar type of offers to drive up the order value and the order size, just to maximize efficiencies in the supply chain, right? It's better that you get more goods delivered in that one order than you order like 7 separate orders. And they're trying to minimize that as well. And of course, right? I mean, the hot stuff is still electronics and tech and games and that kind of stuff. Those are definitely on the consumer trends. One other thing that's a little bit interesting is this, where free shipping is playing a role. We know that fast delivery is going to be late in free shipping. But what people are trying to do is allow you to actually take advantage of immersive experiences. So you can still buy online and pick up in store, return at the post office. Like, they're opening up as many channels as they can. I dare use the word omni-channel, but we joke about it. There's multiple channels that are being placed, and it's immersive experiences that matter, right? And where you introduce friction becomes important. It's more than just, I mean, sometimes you're trying to reduce friction, but you introduce friction when you want the human interaction, or when you realize people want a personalized level of service. And so we're seeing a lot more thoughtfulness behind that.
I think it's really interesting also when you mention the immersive experiences, because I know one of the big trends is this try before you buy, but it's actually using AI. So you don't have to go into the store, but you're having this virtual experience where you're able to try out these items before you buy it. And I think that's also a good segue into the question is and we talked about this a little bit, but what can we expect as we continue into the holiday season? What e-commerce trends are we seeing arise?
We're starting to see the beginnings of the metaverse, right? You're seeing like digital experiences, as you're talking about, augmented reality and virtual reality are playing a bigger role. I mean, you do get to see things, feel things, hey, I want that couch over there in that room. What's that going to
Yeah.
look like? Right. So people are doing those kind of things. We're also seeing a push towards, having less returns, as we were talking about earlier. Those less returns are important. And it's about not only getting the order right, but also making sure that you understand what customers are about to do in terms of their risk level as you're making purchases. And so we see people are being smarter about how they extend credit to consumers, or which types of consumers they extend credit. AI and ML are definitely playing a role there. We're also seeing things in terms of repeat orders, right? Some people are actually starting to buy subscriptions as a gift, and subscriptions play a role. So, I mean, I don't know, maybe you like your M&Ms stocked monthly, right? And you get automated supplies of M&Ms or pet food that gets shipped out to you. I mean, all that kind of stuff is starting to happen as well. And then, of course, a lot of emphasis on travel experiences. I think that's one of the hot things this holiday season, with a lot more flexibility on the back end, because you never know what might happen. And so you're getting gifts, or people are giving gifts for experiences with wider ranges of dates and things like that, which is nice. Concert experiences, travel experiences, things that are out there. And then, of course, we still see a lot of folks that are what we call hunkered down still. So they don't want to engage. And you have about 20 to 30% of the population that's still looking for services and delivery to their place of residence in limited density. So.
It's interesting. One of the things you mentioned earlier is also, we're in the holiday season, but retailers are already thinking about after, because with all these sales, there also comes billions of dollars of waste afterward, and billions of dollars of products that weren't sold. And a lot of brands, they need to also be thinking about, okay, what are they going to do after? Do they have a way to actually be able to resell it, or to lift it off so these things don't end up in landfills or things like that? Especially, as you mentioned earlier, is that a lot of consumers are more purpose driven, and they're also looking for sustainability, and what investments are brands making towards those areas. So it's definitely not something, okay, December 25th and then December 26th, it's over. There's still so much to have to consider. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot going on the post-holiday trade, and I think that's an important area. People are trying to figure out how to keep people in their stores, to keep the credits in their own environments. And so when you do a return, you also want to make sure you make the offers and the offer management more personalized. You also want to understand the reasons or rationales for a return, but you want to keep credits in store. So we see a lot more creativity around that by offering more in-store credit and trying to push towards in-store credit as opposed to cash credit that was going on before. So you might get a gift card back so that you come back to the store for use there. We're also seeing some interesting tactics regarding how to handle returns. And so depending on the value of the goods, sometimes the returns are being taken care of by personalized shoppers. We've seen that on the high end, which is kind of neat. So they can like, oh, hey, this is what you really might want it. And what they're doing is they're moving some of the clearance items in there. So that's some of the strategies on post-holiday sales that we've been looking at. And then, of course, there is the sustainability aspect, depending where you're in, especially in fast fashion, right? They're really encouraging the recycling of some of those clothes, or the ability to actually reuse some of those clothes for shelters. I mean, yes, you're going to return it and they're not going to use it. We're starting to see some of that being pushed out to shelters or for reuse. And some brands actually have done a good job, like reuse. Take H&M, for example. So.
One thing I wanted to bring up, going off of what you were mentioning earlier about payments. So we know that holidays also can bring a lot of debt for a lot of consumers, but something, we did a Christmas in July episode, obviously back in July. And one of the things that were trending was this idea of doing afterpay, or buy now, pay later, which we talked about a little bit earlier. So I've been seeing a lot of brands adopting that and allowing their consumers to kind of split their payments into 4 to make the holidays more affordable. And, we're also seeing that we have to think of the financial journeys of the customers as well, because a lot of them, they were hit. We talked a lot about in 2020 how people's financial status, it either went two ways. Either they were hit, they found they lost their job, or they actually were able to save more than they usually did. So we're kind of dealing with these two very different types of consumers, and brands need to keep those things in mind as they're promoting this holiday season.
Lisa, that's a great point. I mean, this bifurcated market is huge. You do have folks that did really well during the pandemic and were able to save. And you see that. So where the assets and the asset bubbles are actually expanding. So that's definitely one end. Then you also have the other end where, it is a pandemic. People didn't do as well. And they definitely, they do want to celebrate. And so a lot of the techniques pioneered by Fingerhut in the early 90s are being applied with the deferred payments. You saw a lot of tech startups in this space kind of actually explode, being able to allow people to pay later and extend credit in that regard. So we're seeing new types of credit, new types of payment models kind of emerge. And there's a lot of opportunities there, especially for high value goods, and even for smaller goods. We're seeing that as well, breaking up things into subscription pricing as well.
Right. This went super fast, but we're actually at the time for our mini LinkedIn Live episodes. Yes, we hit these at 15 minutes and we hit the mark.
Okay.
But do you have any closing remarks? Because I had a bonus question I wanted to ask you, but it's kind of a fun question.
Go for the bonus question. Let's go.
I wanted to ask you what you think is going to be the top selling holiday gift this season. I couldn't find a conclusive answer, so I have a couple thoughts, but yes.
So on one end, it could be anything related to the Squid Game, which we're seeing on one. But we think it's definitely going to be some kind of gaming console, right? The gaming console wars are definitely popping up. So I think that's going to be hot this year. But I don't know. What's on your list?
Okay, well, this is not personally on my list, but I've been seeing these things trending. So one seems pretty basic. It's the new Apple AirPod Pros that are coming out. Apparently, AirPods of any form are a popular gift this season. But something that became famous through TikTok are these things called Squishmallow plush toys. Have you heard of this?
We have a ton of those at home.
Yeah, so apparently they're becoming very hard to find. So that's one of the things that are becoming a top gift this season.
Squishmallows are everywhere. My daughter loves them. We have them all over the house. They're soft and I don't know. There's something. They make this thing so squishy.
Maybe I need to invest in one then.
We should come up with one.
Yes.
But yeah, no, and you're definitely right about the AirPods. AirPods is also the other one. It was awesome stocking stuffers. People are popping into those, and some of the home speakers. The home speakers are also going to be pretty hot still.
Yeah. So, any closing advice to retailers as they're trying to get through the holiday season? And we're a week from Black Friday at this point.
I'm going to give three things. Spend a lot of time thinking about your analytics, automation, and AI strategy, not for this round, but for all the things and challenges that you face this year. Think about where you could have had better information and insight. Think about where you could have automated processes to save you time. And then think about where you can take that tribal knowledge and put that into your AI ML models. Those 3 A's actually help you solve a problem we call decision velocity. And that's what you're going to need to be able to take on the digital giants or to win, right? Because you and I make decisions 1 per second. It takes us forever to get them implemented. Machines make 100 decisions per second, even 1,000 times per second. And that's where you compete on decisions and speed. And so it's going to be important to do that. But just take note of all the barriers and blocks that you have and figure out where you can do that in January once we get past NRF.
Thank you, Ray. And thank you for your time today. And I'm looking forward, like I told you, September 1st, I'm already, in the holiday spirit. So I can't wait for this next month. I can't wait for, especially actually as we debrief after the season to see if any of these predictions were true, what new things unexpected might come up. So I'm excited to, delve into that. And I hope you'll come for a future show.
Same here. Happy holidays.
Holidays. And to our audience, thank you for joining for us today. As always, if you have feedback, if you would like to be a future guest in the show, email us at cxunplugged@sap.com. And always like, subscribe, follow. We'll have more episodes of the show to come. And happy holidays, everyone. Have a good rest of your day.
Take care.